West Europeans have been unchallenged in their national identities for decades, but East Europeans are just recovering theirs. In northern Yugoslavia, an extraordinary group of artists have been rummaging through bits and pieces of European history. They're putting together some disturbing images under the banner of expressing a national identity. Here we're on the border of Austria and Italy, at the rim of the Balkans, the most troublesome, rebellion-ridden end of the continent. The country is Slovenia. I came here to meet a group of artists and musicians. The identity they're struggling to define is a mixed one, and their work is mixed too. It draws you through a network of European historical and ideological symbols. The band Laibach are the most famous and notorious members of the group. Collectively, they go under the name of Neue Slowenische Kunst, New Slovenian Art. Actually, Slovenia's never been a country. It's always been part of someone else's country. Its capital, Ljubljana, is now in northern Yugoslavia. But for a long time, it was an Austrian city, called Laibach in German, a provincial capital in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Slovenians saw the Austrian Empire much as they now see Yugoslavia, as oppressive, chaotic, and feeble. What impressed them was not ailing Austria, but renascent Germany. This is Laibach's version of the Queen song, One Nation. They've retitled it Geburt einer Nation, Birth of a Nation, a reference not just to Nazi ideology, but also to D.W. Griffith's famous silent film of the same name. The imagery echoes both Nazi and Ku Klux Klan symbols, games with culture and history. I met with Ivan Novak, one of the founding members of NSK and Laibach. The location is a cemetery on the outskirts of town, his choice. He looks as if he might be more at home in a Transylvanian castle than a Slovenian cemetery. And like the character he resembles, it's hard to pin him down in daylight. I asked him whether Laibach was afraid of being tagged Nazi.
To a certain extent, it does have a sense, but not in a total. We're absolutely not connected to any political system, any political movement or whatever. Misinterpretation we understand as a correct interpretation sometimes, as a necessary interpretation. We open ourselves up to misunderstandings when we feel that misunderstandings can make a step further in understanding.
The style of Neue Slowenische Kunst, NSK, looks fascist, but they maintain they aren't. The look is meant to provoke. It does.
It is a caricature of German mysticism used by the Nazis, for instance, in their Nazi party rallies, in their party structures, in their organizations of Hitler Youth, and you know, the whole lining up of a population for a particular political will.
Life. Life is life.
The source of imagery, which really harks back to paintings, sculptures, films of the Nazi period and the war years, when indeed part of the Slovenian people were fighting on the side of the Nazis.
Life. Life is life.
Neue Slowenische Kunst think of themselves as the artistic stormtroops of Slovenian identity. They have so-called departments for everything from graphic design to philosophy. Laibach have achieved the biggest international success, but the artistic wing, Erwin, is now showing in New York to great acclaim. And the theatrical wing, Red Pilot, is widely recognized for innovative work. Although they all use Nazi symbols, their sources aren't limited to the Third Reich.
It is a mixture of images. It is indeed reminiscent of Nazi imagery, but also very strongly reminiscent of the imagery of the socialist realists. You must remember that Yugoslavia until 1980 was ruled by one man. Tito was the hero of the nation. Tito's dream of the future was represented in that socialist realist art. Dictatorship produces wherever you are, if you're in Slovenia or in Germany or in Russia, it produces always the same kind of imagery.
Slovenia is a place where the cultures of East and West, North and South meet. In today's turbulent Yugoslavia, it's one of the main centers of discontent. Slovenians see themselves as heirs to Western and Northern traditions, above all, Austro-German ones, not to those established by the Turkish Empire, which dominated much of what has today become Yugoslavia. One of the main aims of NSK is to reflect this. Peter Mlaka is the chief of the philosophy department of NSK. He's also renowned for his erotic poetry. Ask him for an explanation of NSK, and he'll give you the nearest thing you'll get to one.
Our mission is to make our nation more rich in material and in spiritual sense. Also, our task is to make our nation more self-conscious, and then to remind our people that they are not from here, only from here, but that they are transnational.
Europe is a conglomeration of countries, and the countries themselves are conglomerations of tribes. Yugoslavia, the Balkan, is a conglomeration of tribes and small nations. Once they have been part of Austria, so the Austrian tradition meets Slavonic traditions down there. And the crossover creates these peculiarly fraught images, fraught emotions.
Österreicher, ihr seid Deutsche, aber auch unser Same lebt in euch.
Chief philosopher Mlaka on his day off in Vienna.
Well, it is a provocation to put a sort of Gauleiter figure in front of a Viennese audience, telling the Austrians, who are very proud of their independence, that they are Germans. Of course, it's throwing the spanner into the works of history. But here we are. Provocation is the game.
I don't absolutely agree that we are practicing provocation as the main goal of our work. We do involve provocation on a certain level, but as a necessary part of any artistic expression. To Austrians, we just wanted to tell them where do they belong historically.
Nice to meet you. Hope you guessed my name. But what's puzzling you is just the nature of my game.
The game they're playing, like the identity they're seeking, is not a simple one, a kind of ideological Cluedo. Unless you follow the clues carefully, you'll find it's you who's the body in the library.
Ambiguity is power. These artists like the power to lead and to mislead. It is their game. It is a game they play with their audiences. It's a game they're engaged in with each other. And so they reflect much of that manipulation which is in our society, in capitalism as well as so-called socialism.
From their obscure Slovenian beginnings, Laibach have now spread their unique brand of disco fascism, as it's been called, as far as America. Part of what they offer is a clever bit of hype, but they evoke powerful emotions. What they're packaging is Europe's past, some of its more diabolical episodes. The result, according to taste, is absurd, repellent, or fascinating.
I am a bit worried about their current success in the United States, because these people just simply do not know the subtleties of European symbolisms, and they just follow the lure, the agu, the kinkiness of that Nazi imagery. But as a cultural phenomenon for Europe, in Europe, they are quite extraordinary and quite evidently anti-dictatorial, really a big piss take in dealing with the monolithic imagery of the Tito era and Nazi traditions in Austria and Germany.